Everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. First up, budget review. Hunter, where are we going to start?
Well, we can start with the cover letter real quickly if you'd like.
Sure.
It's just a brief overview. Its intent is to not really tell you everything that's in the budget, but just give you the highlights and the things that you might otherwise have to go and hunt for. And just as an overview, the proposed budget this year is the town's operating budget. General fund is up by 3.5% proposed, which would result in a 12-cent increase in the tax rate, or approximately 1%. We thought that was pretty defendable, given our current situation with inflation and our ongoing attempts to try to fund on a static, reoccurring basis a lot of our capital expenditures.
And speaking to that tax rate, that 12-cent increase is only 2 cents higher than what we anticipated it to be last year.
That's correct. We had
Our tax rate came in 10 cents less than what we voted for.
Right.
So,
so we're 2 cents over where we were year before last. So it's a pretty flat budget in the long sense of the word. And I gave you a short list of items that are sort of new to the general fund on page 2 at the top. Water fund and sewer fund are both down pretty considerably. The airport is down. And outside of the usual and customary warrant articles, we don't have anything to offer that's new, with the exception of one. We're recommending that you consider one warrant article to the state's revolving loan program for Door Lagoons in the amount of $75,000 by the state, so it'll be a zero cost to that, and that will fund our analysis or the study of the Door Lagoons that's underway as we speak.
You have it in writing that it's going to be forgiven?
Yeah, yes, we do.
Good.
In fact, I think it's the study actually started today, or yesterday. They were up here yesterday.
Good.
And so that's going to yield a report, an engineering analysis as to what our current situation is there, and a recommendation as to how we go forward to address the long-term care remediation of that site.
now, you don't mention a warrant article here to bond for the community center.
No, this is strictly, we look at this strictly as being operating,
Okay.
and because the, I may be remiss in this, but my view, this is the operating budget for the town, and that's
Okay.
my statutory obligation, and
Okay.
the rest of it sort of falls into the more political world as to what the community wants to pursue. So we try not to get ahead of the select board on that.
Right, well, we already voted that we'll be bringing it forward this year.
Correct.
So.
But as long as you brought it up, I would continue to reiterate my belief that there's probably no better expenditure that this town can make for its long-term quality of life. But that's to be determined. But anyway, so the budget is, it's pretty flat. You can't have a budget that's 3% and have too much different going on. One thing that is different, and the other I would point out, is that there is a across-the-board one-time adjustment in base pay being recommended for the staff. Very modest adjustment. And that would be townwide, and that's all been calculated into the budget. So There wouldn't be any additional expenses beyond what we've already presented to you to fund that if you choose to go that direction. So that's about it in terms of oversight or overview. Missed anything? I don't think so. Like I said, I won't bore you by reading the list that's already there, but we are continuing to work towards the funding levels that will get us, that will be sustainable, that will take care of the big ticket items year in and year out. We're still a little short in the public works area, because they got some pretty heavy duty expenses there that for a few pieces of equipment. We just haven't gotten the funding to the point where we can call it level yet.
Talking like that grader?
The grader is that's the big one that's kind of hanging out there. We're getting close in the fire department. We're in good shape, I think. We're within striking distance there of getting that level funded so that the replacement of ambulances and fire apparatus will be pretty level every year. We've taken care of a lot of our backlog of capital improvements. The roof on the fire station is the last roof to be done. We've gotten all the rest of them done. And we've got a lot of capital projects out. This year, Sand Hill is out to bid now, I believe. And hopefully that'll get taken care of this summer. And we're going to be starting our Unity Road work this summer. Replacement of the Riverbend Pump Station. Usual next, layer of sidewalk replacements. And we have a number of grants, about $7 million worth of grants that we're going to be working on, grants and ARPA and Gopher monies for things like the town office building, roof, HVAC, new runway at the airport, and so on. So we got lots and lots and lots of work to do, but it's all good if we survive it. The town's going to look pretty decent another 12 or 18 months. In good shape. Looks pretty decent already, but it'll just look that much nicer. So, all right. Anyway, so unless you have any questions about the cover letter or things of that nature, I guess we can jump into the budget.
Yeah, I've got some questions, but they can wait, and we can let these gentlemen cover their part so they can get out of here.
Yeah, so which budget would you like to take on first?
Public Works and then Highway and move on?
We can do that.
That's what you're here for, right?
That's what we're here for.
Yeah, you're not here for the rec department.
No.
Okay.
Probably the easiest is if you start on page 5. New Public Works.
Page 5.
Yes. District Court and General Government Buildings.
Okay.
Yeah, now, one thing to note, in case you didn't catch that, is the Buildings and Grounds, that's traditionally been, more up here, has been transferred under the supervision of the Public Works Directors.
How's that working?
Pretty good, yeah. I mean, I think everybody gets along well, and I mean, we had, even today, we had kind of every department involved on a little project. And we all got together and got it done in a short amount of time and carried on.
I think it does give them some flexibility and manpower so that when they hit a peak project, they can borrow those guys, and when the Buildings and Grounds guys need a little extra help, they can borrow from the Public Works or the Highway crew. I've seen evidence of that. I think they cross-share equipment a little more readily now than perhaps they had in the past, so I think it's working out fine. I think it's common, it's not uncommon to find Buildings and Grounds either under Recreation or under the Public Works Department. So it's not a new model, so to speak. Maybe new to us somewhat, but
Yeah, like Parks and Recreation.
yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
District Court?
Yeah, district. We can talk about District Court. In fact, it's by coincidence. You have a lease renewal for District Court on your agenda tonight.
Yeah.
It'll be a new three-year contract.
And we'll get to that next.
Not much activity activity or difference here in that department. The one thing I would bring to your attention is that within the last couple of weeks, we did have a heating unit failure on the at the district court, and got an assessment of that from a local contractor, would seem to suggest gloom and doom for that heating unit, and so we're going to work on trying to replace that this summer. But that is not in the budget, but we'll figure that out some way or another.
Now, the rents for district court bring in about 100,000 a year or so, or?
Yes.
Just over that, I haven't seen it
Yeah, we adjusted their lease rate 2 years ago. It was 2 years ago, and I don't know if it doubled, but it got.
So in one regard, we can consider the district court sort of a profit center. Because this budget is, for district court is it's just under 35,000, and we're bringing in about 100.
Right.
So that covers some of the other maintenance that may get done, like outside plowing, and also.
Yep.
We put a roof. Did we do a roof?
Put a roof there 2 years ago.
Yeah. So
We
it's
rebuilt the front, entrance of the
Right.
building. It's all now ADA compliant. And we pick away at that building like, our others, and it's getting a little tired. It'll need some carpeting and some paint over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
But we're getting caught up on it. The guys are doing a good job. And a portion of those proceeds do go into a reserve fund for that building. So it runs okay, but as I said, we're still doing catch up on some of this
Yeah.
capital equipment. But the replacement of that heating unit is not in the budget at this moment.
Do we have any idea of ballparking estimate?
20 or so, but we'll figure that out. I'm waiting for an estimate. The estimate's been requested, but I haven't got it. That's
Anyone have any questions on district court here? John, you good? You following along?
You're still there.
Okay.
I'm good. Sorry.
Okay.
No, I'm fine.
Okay. All right. Moving on, general government buildings and grounds.
So, not to sound redundant, this is when fully staffed, it's 3 full-time people and one, 30-hour-a-week position. And the current staff is a little younger in terms of seniority, so you can see a little bit of a reduction in the cost there. Not too much, but a little bit. Nothing out of the ordinary here. This is an annual kind of activity, status quo. We fund some of their bigger projects elsewhere under capital expenses.
Right, and the overtime pay is down quite a bit based upon historical.
Yeah, I mean, it's somewhat, not fully, but it's somewhat of a seasonally influenced activity. If we get a heavy winter, it's like the highway guys. You'll see more activity, but I mean, the failure, we incurred some overtime when the failure of that heating unit went out, because they had to scramble and find some alternative heating sources for the district court so they can continue to function.
Yeah.
And of course, it always happens on a weekend. Usually it starts around 4 o'clock on Friday afternoon.
The cold weekend, not the warm weekend.
Yeah, cold and maybe a holiday mixed in there. That's just the way it is. Or so it would seem.
Okay.
So it's a pretty flat budget otherwise.
Barry?
Are we locked in on an oil price, given everything that's going on right now? And I see it's 44,000 here.
Yeah, you've got,
Assuming that
yeah,
we planned that for.
yeah, and I think we beat the upswing, I think.
We did.
Good.
We're at,
Way to go.
Yeah. Now, I mean, this time we won. It's a crapshoot,
Yeah.
It's like playing the stock market. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but I think we're in pretty good shape on that. But otherwise, nothing like they say, nothing to see here of any real note.
Our property and casualty insurance, that's, do we know that's going up 8.6%?
That's our guaranteed maximum.
Like health insurance, it could be less.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually, they're usually pretty tight to
Pretty tight.
their
Okay.
renewal numbers.
All right.
Under electricity, it looks like our usages are pretty stable as part of the 5-year average. Are we seeing any savings from the solar?
No, no, you wouldn't see anything there. Just to refresh everybody's memory, the solar array up by the wastewater treatment plant goes straight into the treatment plant. So that's what we call behind the meter. The solar array on Turkey Hill, we buy power from them. Not really, and Paul could argue with me if he thinks this is incorrect, but I just the way I would portray it is that it's not at a discounted rate. It's at a controlled rate so that over time we will pay a lower rate than the market. So we're at a fixed price, fixed plus 2%, I believe, whereas the market is fixed plus 8%, 16%, 8%, 27%, whatever the... So over the course of 20 years, we will be at a lower fixed rate than we would if we had played the market.
I just had solar put on. Hasn't been a good winter for solar.
Well, that's the thing, you gotta take the long view of it, and that's,
Yeah.
over time,
Gotta keep telling myself.
yeah, that's right, yeah. Over time, it will be beneficial and you'll save money, but if it's, I hate to use the stock market, but it's like playing the stock market. It's, you just gotta kinda keep your head down and just take the long view of it. And know that it's the right thing to do because you're not,
That's right.
you're not burning up oil someplace.
Paul, you have a question or comment?
No, just the other thing is that at the wastewater treatment plant, we're behind the meter, so we missed some of the stranded costs and transmission costs. On Turkey Hill, we're net metered, so we're still gonna have those delivery charges
Right.
that we're not seeing at the wastewater treatment plant. So we'll see more savings up on that property.
Yeah, so now thinking ahead, when the wastewater treatment plant finally gets upgraded, we anticipate that there will be a need for more power there. The array that was built next door was sized to allow for additional growth, so we can,
Yeah,
we can,
There's certainly extra land there to
yeah,
expand.
we can do an expansion there. So we'll see how that goes, but again, it will only serve to ameliorate the rate, except for the wastewater treatment plant, that goes right into the, right through the wall.
All right. What else for general government? Anything? All right. Where next, Paul?
Cemetery, the next section down.
One quick question on general government.
Okay.
The line 190, there's a contingency,
190?
page 7, under other government, other general government.
Down the bottom.
Down at the bottom, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the unallocated potential payroll adjustment.
So because that was kind of,
Yeah.
the idea is from us, it would take a fair amount of effort to spread that throughout the budget, and so we wanted to make it easy, so if the select board decides we're not doing that, we can't afford to do it, we don't want to do it, it's too expensive, whatever the case may be, we can easily unplug that and get rid of that influence without going through and stripping out the whole budget again. So what Paul's done is he's taken the salary and the cost of the associated benefits and put it on a single line item so we can just snap it out and put it back in.
Yeah, that's how it's been done in the past.
Yeah.
Now, is this just the 2% adjustment, or the 2%?
We're recommending 2% to the base, and the 1.5% is already in.
Right, 1.5 is in the line items.
Right.
Broken out, this is the 2%.
So, okay.
Yep, and the 1.5% mirrors the amount that's in our waste, on our public works contract. And we do have a block in here for the, well, we don't have a block. We have funds that we know we would repurpose if and when we get to a point where we have a contract with the police department.
Okay. Okay, 60,000 is 2% plus the benefits that track with it.
General fund share, yeah.
Okay. All right. All needs more value. Okay, moving on to cemetery. The only real change here is you added hot patch. And you cut down the amount for repairing stones. Or actually, it is up.
We had an increase in the miscellaneous topsoil and all those kind of things.
Right.
This is, since it's been kind of now under the auspices of the Public Works, and the year before, we've become aware that the cemeteries are in a little bit more need of attention than we had previously understood, so we're trying to do a little catch-up work. Todd arranged for some masons to come in last year and do some repair of some of the walls and gates, which I think looks great, and we're going to try to get kind of a jump or a little extra emphasis for a couple of years on doing some memorial or stones, headstone repairs, which is a little bit of an art, but so the kind of thing that we think that if you just get into it and do the same amount every year for 4 or 5 years, before you know it, things are starting to look pretty good again.
Pick away at it.
Yeah.
Has with increase in cremation, has that caused any adjustments there, or are you setting area aside for that, or what are you doing?
Well, that's a tough one to project.
Mm.
I know in the last week or so, they've had a couple full burials and cremations. I think as it seems like more and more people are going towards cremations.
Yeah.
We have that section up in North Newport that's specifically
right.
for cremation.
Yeah.
It's a ticklish subject, a lot of people understand and prefer cremations because it's less costly. There are other people that won't have anything to do with it, and this is what they want: full burials, and they're dead set on it. And but from a maintenance perspective, upright stones, which is another kind of tradition. People want to have an upright stone. They don't want an in-ground or flush stone. They get very particular about it, and I understand it, but from a maintenance perspective, upright stones and full burials are costly and time-consuming.
And and you said we did 2 full burials recently?
Yeah.
That must be kind of tough with the ground.
Well, they're pretty well equipped. I mean, they have a unit that they'll go out, they'll clear the site, they put it on, and they'll thaw the ground, and then they'll dig.
Yeah.
They'll dig for the grave.
But
it certainly is pretty labor intensive.
Right, but didn't someone just stop doing winter burials like Claremont or someone?
We're one of the few towns left around that do winter burials, and we hope to redo our ordinance for you all and suggest that we won't do winter burials. It's just very cost ineffective.
And I know it's a different charge, but it's still certainly not enough.
No, I think we went to, I think we're even up to 1,000, I think for a winter burial, and that barely covers the cost.
Yeah.
But, we're also a little touchy, that's a little touchy too, we're reluctant not to be able to provide that service. We're one of the few communities left that does it. But I suspect it's somewhere in the future.
So they don't do the burial in the middle of winter, the remains are stored at the funeral home?
I think that's typically how they make arrangements with storage,
Yep.
Yeah, something we should look at.
Right.
Well, we don't do that many, right? Or do we?
Depends.
Winter?
Yeah, it's
It depends, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a handful.
last couple of weeks gave the ground a good chance to really freeze solid.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else in cemeteries? Paul, where now?
Page 17?
17.
Page, Public Works Garage.
Public Works Garage. Okay.
It's almost like you wrote this book.
So again, I hate to sound redundant, but there's not a lot of change in here. Small change in the base wages and related expenses. Nothing of any great surprise or magnitude, and that's our goal, is to get the budget overall to look like that pretty much every year. To be able to anticipate the big expenses and to set money aside for them in advance.
Yep. And Public Works fuel expense, that should be good. It's actually down a little bit from what was budgeted this year.
Yeah, I mean, that'll vary depending on the year.
Okay.
Um,
And one question I had on everywhere that has radio maintenance.
Yep.
Was, we basically put in a whole new town-wide radio system, correct?
Well, almost. It's all here, and,
But we're working toward it.
oh yeah, it's
So
all,
maintenance should not be much of an issue.
that's
but
right,
These line items throughout, like in highway, PD, emergency communication, all that, these are all part of the lease payment, right?
no.
Or is that a
no,
separate item?
That's separate. But you're seeing them go down because all new equipment is coming in,
Right.
so there's not as much maintenance.
Maintenance.
So, to answer your question though, all the equipment has been ordered, all the equipment is here, or nearby, with the exception of one piece of equipment, which kind of oversimplifying a little bit, which ties it all together, which is Motorola is waiting for the delivery of one critical piece of equipment that will enable it all to get going, and everybody's blaming everything on COVID, so supposedly there's some critical items missing, but the rest of it's stacked up down at the PD
Right.
and Public Works. They've been working on the new tower up at the water tank. So we're all positioned as soon as these pieces arrive, that it'll all come together. But
Okay.
yeah,
Let's say at least for the first year, will we actually have maintenance expenses? Or should it all be under warranty?
it pretty much should be under warranty. Yeah, I can't think there's going to probably be too much,
I
but
think some of the portable radios and things may not be covered.
Right.
And
Yes,
not all
that's
of
true.
them.
Because those are like second-hand, correct?
yeah, those were kind of new used,
Yeah.
and those.
Refurbished sort of deal?
What?
Refurbished.
No, they're new enough so they didn't need to be refurbished.
Okay.
A community that we won't name bought a whole bunch of equipment and then changed their plan for their radio systems, and which required them to buy all new ones. So they're about a year old, and they have more resources than we do, and they just decided to go out and buy all new stuff. So
Isn't that pretty much what we had to do with our body cams?
body cams, well, that's a longer, messier story.
Okay.
But they weren't that new.
They weren't, okay, yeah.
Well, we bought all brand new
Okay.
stuff, but the company had trouble.
But anyway, there's a lot of maintenance cost in here. Probably doesn't add up to a lot, but it's,
Yeah, well, there'll always be, we don't want it to go away,
No.
because there always will be maintenance at some point or another, so we'll always have a line item there
okay,
to remind ourselves that there's that expense.
yeah.
But I suspect, again, if the Motorola equipment arrives as it's now promised, that come spring we'll be all pretty much done.
We should be switched over and be starting the new fiscal year
Yeah.
with new under warranty
Yeah.
equipment.
All the big stuff is all under warranty. It's just the
Right.
portables that aren't.
Yeah, it's portables that get the most abuse too, probably.
Yeah. And for a lot of them, the portable, some of the portables will be new. You know, they'll be giving radio communications to members of our department that don't have it now. A lot of the public works guys will have radios that they didn't have before. So I'm happy about that. It makes them, it makes their job safer and should make it a little bit easier and all that.
Yep. So Paul, $2.50 a gallon for gasoline is a good number, you feel?
Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago. The last couple of weeks, I'm not so sure, but it's a crapshoot. But right now, we're still paying Rack Plus, Portsmouth Rack Plus, and we've seen some really nice savings for that.
Okay.
And keep in mind, this number is from July forward, so it's really for next year, so we just
Right, I
don't,
know.
Yeah,
we just don't know what. I mean,
What was our number for this year?
2.25, I think is what we budgeted.
Okay, so we're... And this, and it's in the $2 range because we don't pay any of the taxes, right?
You take 44.2 cents off for the taxes, and then we've also cut some of the profit money out of the company's profit money out too with the Rack Plus versus the pump price minus.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say our switch to our current vendors worked out well. We were buying from Irving before and not getting a really good deal, and now we have a better fee structure on that. So
Pretty much across the street there?
Yeah, now at the station out on the edge of town is part of that as well.
Okay.
T-Bird, and I think it's probably saving us, what, 50 cents a gallon, 40, 50 cents a gallon over our previous.
No, not quite that much, but still decent.
But the deal with Irving was cost plus a certain number of cents. And it was cost on top of the delivered cost, and this is, as Paul's pointing out, is rack price, so it starts off just cheaper right off the bat.
Okay.
And it's been fairly reliable. I don't think we've had any real heartache in the delivery systems or anything.
Yeah. And the other thing, the credit card that comes with it is accepted at a lot of stations.
That's true. So we have a purchasing card that runs those systems, so it tells us who bought the gas, how much and when and what vehicle, so on and so forth, so it's pretty accountable. But if the employee is traveling, if somebody goes to Concord or somewhere further away and needs gas, they can use that card to access gas outside of Newport or the same company.
Okay.
So it works pretty good.
All right. Okay. John, you with us, right? You're going to speak up if you got any questions?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Herb, anything?
All set?
All right. Barry?
No, I'm all set, thank you.
All right, what's next? Highway?
Highway inspection down?
Yep. Anything stands out here?
Yeah, again, I'm gonna sound redundant by the time the night's over, but it's pretty flat. The biggest cost for public works that we're facing these days is the capital gear, and we're addressing some of it this year. But as you already pointed out, the big elephant in the room is that grader. But we're nibbling away at everything else.
Yeah, line 476, highway equipment repair replacement. This is just stuff that wears out, and that's down 8,000.
Yeah, those are small pieces of equipment. It's not rolling stock. It's not a dump,
Right.
dump truck. It's
Right. I mean,
It's a little
it's your smaller tools that have wear parts on them. I mean,
right. Chainsaws, mowers.
right. And we're not. Pretty much, we're pretty good there. I mean, you feel nothing's gonna, as far as you never know if something breaks, but given the amount of use and wear and tear, that's enough to cover replacement of that sort of stuff.
Based on past years,
Yep.
we kind of made that decision that
Yeah, it's not
Not
like
that we wanna decrease our funding any, you know, but it made sense to do it, I think, in that
Okay.
particular line.
And to their credit, you know, I think Public Works has become much more aware and proactive in terms of its preventative maintenance. You know, they're taking care of their equipment, it's regularly serviced, they're watching the costs of repairs. And so I think they really have done a good job in that regard. In fact, they've revived a few pieces of old equipment that have been kind of left to die, and are making good use of that. So I think they really are being very proactive and responsible about looking after their equipment. I'm really gonna ruin it tonight, you know, but I don't think it might be too early to say, but I don't think I think we're seeing less catastrophic failures than we have in the past, and I'd like
Yep,
to,
and you did it.
I know, you see that, I can't say anything nice without ruining it.
Well, let me ask this question. Is there any equipment you don't have that you know of that if you had would make work easier for the crews and stuff? I mean, is there any sort of thing out there you've seen other places?
It's a dangerous question.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I mean, not, you know, some gold-plated something or other, but is,
well, I don't think that we really, you know, we don't go out looking for the
Right.
newest, the latest, and the greatest. But we do realize that the equipment that we have, the grader, the excavator,
right,
the dump trucks, the sweeper, you know, these are
The loader.
the loader, you know,
Right.
these are the pieces of equipment that we rely on every day
right.
to
And
get done what we have.
Those are your capital items, like,
Yeah,
the example is, buildings and grounds, Jim, I forget his last name.
LaFawn.
Like, when he was basically on his own, and I think you and Hunter asked him, is there anything you need? And he said, I'd like a leaf blower.
Oh, leaf blower, yeah.
You know, not a big capital item, but say, and that was like, yeah, this makes your job go easier, why not?
Yeah.
Is there anything like that,
Well, we certainly try to think that way, you know,
Okay.
work smarter, not harder.
right,
You know, utilize what we have,
Okay.
and if there's a small piece of equipment that will make it more efficient and
Yeah.
easier, then yeah, that'd be
Okay.
certainly look at that.
Well, we putting up the signs for the crosswalks.
mm-hmm,
We really didn't have a reliable method to get the holes down through the pavement.
mm-hmm,
So I purchased a hammer drill.
mm-hmm.
That we had one at the water and sewer, it belonged to them. Wasn't running from what I understood, and didn't have the bits we needed. So I purchased one of those under that line item.
Yeah,
And bought a couple of bits to go with it, which made that process go.
yeah.
And that's a tool that will get used, you know,
Yeah.
repeatedly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Not
so,
only by us,
not to
but-
digress here, but the challenge is, you know, the equipment, the big capital equipment that you described, let's just say for the sake of conversation, there's $1 million there.
Right,
So the problem is, we're trying to back into a plan that will fund the regular or systemic replacement of $1 million worth of rolling stock. And if you're looking at replacing, one piece of that like every 5 years, there's a $200,000 line item.
yeah,
So trying to get yourself into that routine is pretty hard to do, because we haven't been doing that over the years, and so it's all now hold. So you
Right, but
don't have the
that's-
luxury of spreading it out over 20 years.
yeah.
You gotta kind of fight your way into that system, and that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
So,
and that's outside of this. This is more like the smaller
yeah, this
Yeah.
is,
handfuls, and going out and getting something that you know you can make use of and you have an immediate need and you use in the future just makes sense.
right.
And I'm sure there'll be things that come along that, you know,
Yeah,
the example of the drill.
yeah, and this is where those
Yeah.
items have come from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we bought like a commercial leaf blower that we mount on, either on the back of a pickup or the front of a loader. We use that in the fall on the roadside ditches,
Mhm.
culverts.
Yep.
You know, whereas people used to go out and by hand rake and shovel, and, you know, now you can send one guy out with this and it blows all the debris out. And he can do 10 miles of road in a day
Yeah,
versus.
blows it all under the property owner's
Yeah,
front
we
yard.
give it back. No, we try not to do that.
We try to be considerate of our
Yeah.
residents in that respect.
You know.
Okay.
Under highway drainage, had significant overruns of what was budgeted. last
Yep,
couple
so
of years.
that was, I believe, from the storm this year.
Yes, and that's gonna be subject to reimbursement, 75% reimbursement by FEMA.
The flood,
Yeah, we put in all those expenses and we're waiting for a reimbursement.
So we're looking for about 30,000 back?
I bet with equipment time and everything,
A
it
little
should be
more
more
than
than that.
Okay,
Yeah.
but that line was,
Closer to
basically
50.
42.
But again, not to beat a dead horse here, but you will, I think you will commonly see more expenses on Public Works' behalf in that regard, because, when we're out doing road work, again, they've been very proactive. When we're out doing road work, they're putting in new cross drains, new culverts. We're making sure that we're upgrading those, we're upsizing them a little bit, and, when they're working in an area, they're taking care of those things. So they're being proactive, and so people might not fully appreciate the value of that, because if they do, 5 of those in 1 year, okay, that's good. But after 5 or 10 years, you've done a lot of culvert work, and you're gonna get a lot less flooding, a lot less washouts, the drainage will work better, there'll be less damage to the roads. It's kind of a preemptive, kind of precautionary kind of work that will prove out in time.
And the drainage was also addressed when Blueberry Ridge and Barton Whitney was
Right.
done, so that should be less.
Yeah, all the culverts
Yep.
were,
Less work going
We
forward.
went through the entire, every road that we redid this year.
Yeah.
We inventoried what was there, if it was okay, if it was new enough, it was left, but
Yeah.
I would say we probably replaced 75% of it.
Did you upsize any of it, or?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably in that 75% range, if not more.
And then the stuff that we did not replace had been replaced within, I don't know, maybe 5 or 10 years.
we really don't like putting brand new pavement down and 2 or 3 years later have to dig it up because the culvert's gone or something's failed.
No.
It was near the end of its life.
Yeah. Good. All right, anything else under highway?
Well, pretty quiet. Pretty
Okay.
routine.
Where to next?
Next page, highway bridges.
Yep. And this one, the electric, that's for the 3 covered bridges?
Just the Corbin Bridge.
Just Corbin?
No, I'm sorry, it is now the 3 bridges.
3 bridges, okay.
Yes, you guys voted to leave that, the other 2 in.
Okay.
Just as an aside, I will tell you that a couple of years ago, the town was kind enough to give us some money towards building a sand or salt shed. And that has not been too terribly far from our minds. But they can run from the ridiculous to the sublime in terms of cost. And so Todd and the crew have been, constantly kind of back burner, but still looking, finding the right design, manufacturers and things like that. And we feel fairly optimistic that we've figured out a cost-effective way of approaching constructing a salt shed. And I think we'll be able to pull that off in this calendar year. So in case you hear anything about that, it's kind of moving to the front burner.
Good. That was a warrant article passed a couple of years ago, or is that
I
just?
don't remember if that, I think it was out of the budget, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah.
in the budget.
Okay, so it's just money that wasn't expended from a previous budget, so,
We carried it forward.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and we've been hunting around trying to figure out the best way to pull it off. So I think we've got that covered.
Which once it's undercover will make dealing with the salt a lot easier.
Yeah, and it's good for the groundwater. You get less infiltration
Yeah.
Yeah.
into the groundwaters, the surrounding groundwater.
And we're hoping, or at least I'm hoping, that you may be able, it may serve a dual purpose. Not only salt but sand, depending on the size. We'll have to see.
Yeah, even if we can keep, you know, like one or two storms worth of sand in there, it just makes the operation that much more efficient.
Yeah.
You know, these guys, they go out and they plow for 15 hours and then they gotta go, you know, dig into a mountain that's frozen up and,
Yeah.
you know, chunks the size of a Volkswagen, they pick through it and they load the trucks and.
Yeah. And it's a safety, you know, to a certain extent at the end of the storm. You're tired, you're climbing up on top of that truck. It's,
And it flows better when it's not all frozen up. It's
Yeah.
not in chunks, they don't have to break it up with a
Yeah.
shovel or jam up the spreader.
No, I've had some I picked up there, brought home, and it got wet, and go to use it, it's a solid block.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have to take it inside and let it defrost. All right? Okay, that's it for bridges. Anyone? Street lighting.
Nothing remarkable there.
Okay, and this is down from what it was back before we switched to LEDs.
Yeah, it's about, I don't know, about half or so what it used to be.
Yeah.
And that project has paid for itself.
Several times over.
Yeah, so we're in good shape. Be able to repurpose that money towards other things.
All right, where to now?
Page 27. 6 pages short of the waterfront tab.
Which line are you looking at?
Line 685. 6 from the bottom, 7 from the bottom.
Yeah. Truck replacement? Basically, you're replacing a pickup with a, what is a passport van?
Well, just a small van, like a little city van type thing.
Like a Ford Transit or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
So something for the buildings and grounds, something they can keep, you know, tools.
Keep things under somewhat secure and dry.
Yeah, I move them around from place to place as they need them.
Okay.
The Buildings and Grounds has currently 4 vehicles and all varying stages of aging
Yep.
and need. So rather than try to start replacing each one of those, we're going to try to be a little more efficient and replace them with fewer vehicles, but vehicles that do more for them.
Okay. All right, what else?
Line 690.
What about 681? 680? 680. Never mind, that's an old one. Okay, placing a big dump truck.
Yep.
Gonna replace a 22-year-old truck. And this basically is with the plow and the sander and all, you replace it all at the same time.
Yes, correct.
So keep in mind that this will be a year out before it hits the road. We'll order it this year, you probably won't get it on the street until next year, 2023. Just given the way things work. I mean, even under good circumstances, they were a year, 18 months out, so it'll
Yeah.
probably be that or more. Same with fire equipment. You know, you order it and get it a year and a half, 2 years later sometimes. So 24 years on any motor vehicle, I think, is a long time, but this is a service vehicle and driven by different people under all kinds of different circumstances and conditions.
Right. What shape is the 2000 truck in? Is it?
It's time to go.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
We'll
lived
sell it
its
to you.
life, it's
Yeah.
had a good life.
Okay.
We'll sell it to you. If you'd like. We gotta make you a good deal on it.
No, it's important to replace them on a regular frequency.
Yeah, you know, the tendency in lots of communities is to replace it when it blows up. And, you know, you're playing Russian roulette when you do that, because it's gonna blow up and you need it the most. And that's, when you need it the most is when you shouldn't be replacing it.
Right.
You need to replace it before it gets to that
And
point.
this one is a bit past, because I thought we were more or less looking at, call it an 18-year cycle. That's
what we were historically on and we're working back towards.
Okay,
Like this will be the oldest one we've ever replaced,
okay.
in terms of age, but then we should be getting closer again.
Now, are all the large trucks in service during storms? It's not like you have one in reserve or anything?
There's usually one spare, but it usually ends up in service.
Okay, so it's not, so it's more than just, say, a parts truck, it's
Yeah.
basically usable?
They all get run.
Okay.
Yeah, and, you know, we try to, like the mechanic, he's one of the, you know, he's in helping, he's plowing, he's in a truck.
Okay.
It's probably served a double duty this winter.
Yes, for sure.
Now, what's 691 H3 body replacement that got canceled? What's up with H3?
Well, that's another one of the trucks in the fleet. The body, the steel on it is just, I mean, we patch it, you know, it's just a lot of rust and a lot of rot.
Typically because of the salt and the drying, and even trying to keep them clean off.
Right.
We clean them, we oil undercoat them.
How old is H3?
It's a 2007,
So it's like 7 years older than the other one, but it's,
newer. 7 years
well, newer,
Yeah.
but it's got more rust or,
Yep. You know, and maybe it was the, you know, the steel in that year, who knows
Yeah.
what the,
yep.
you know.
Yeah, there's really no rhyme or reason to it. You can't, like, say, Freightliners last longer than, because it just depends on the model year, how they treated
Okay.
that material that particular year. It's hard to tell, but this has not been funded or not recommended for funding, not because I don't believe in it, but it's one of these things that I can't do at all. So, I mean, this might be the kind of thing, if we had some money left over at the end of the year, we might replace it. But I just can't, I mean, I had to stop funding these somewhere.
Was this gonna be a new body?
Yes.
It was.
Yeah, you know, and there's potential if, you know, there's a possibility we could find a used one somewhere, you know.
Just, you know, if the body is that rusted, is the truck worthy of putting a new body on?
Well, I think given that we need to get a few more years out of it, yeah. You know, we've kicked around the idea of maybe we find a flatbed body, dump body to put on it. I mean,
Is the body approaching the shape, I guess, condition that it wouldn't even pass inspection?
that's been an issue in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it just becomes a matter of, you know, now it's time and material that you're putting into it.
Right. Where's this one in the sequence for replacement? Would this be,
Well, it's a 2007.
I mean, would we be looking at replacing this one as the next one, or?
There should be an 04 in the fleet.
Hmm?
There should be an 04 in the fleet.
H1?
Yeah.
You guys name it.
So it's one of the next two that would go.
Yeah. Two out. So,
So you're looking at 6 years or so.
yeah.
Unless the 04 isn't done.
So really, if everything else is good enough, in, you know, your opinion, a mechanic's opinion, a $12,000 investment on a truck that would cost $200,000 to replace,
Right.
to get another 5 or 6 years out of, may not be a bad investment.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically your bodies on a dump truck are the first things that are gonna need to be replaced.
Right. So like the newest truck that we have, the one that was just ordered 2 seasons ago, you know, the steel on that was spec'd out to be a heavier steel. The paint is you know, it's a stronger, more durable paint designed for truck bodies and that sort of thing. One can only hope that it lasts, that it works.
Mhm. Okay. So that may be something to readdress depending upon how into the year
Right.
finances are.
Correct. We're a little reluctant to do anything about that now, given that we're still in the middle of winter. But, you know, if we luck out and get a little bit of a light winter, we might have some extra funds
Yep.
that we could direct and that
Right.
way.
Okay. All right, anything else here, Paul?
Well, before you leave that, I didn't mention on the the big truck, the 211,000, that's off by 90, offset by $90,000 worth of fund balance, which was the 90,000 that we put in this year's budget.
Okay.
So we're not raising the full 211 this time, we're just increasing that to 121 from 90, so we're, or 121, so we're,
All right, and that shows up in the revenue side somewhere?
it actually shows up on the summary page in use of fund balance.
Okay, useful, okay.
And then on the next page,
So it's 90,000 of fund balance?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Which was actually, the 90,000 of fund balance that we're using is on line 684. You'll see 90,000 in this year's budget.
684?
So same section we were in with the truck. Previous year, current year appropriations in the green section.
What page you on?
I'm on page
Oh, I see the
27.
90, yeah.
Okay,
27, the first green column, if you go up from the
Yeah.
bottom, it's the first number.
yeah, okay,
So that 90,000 is being applied to the truck.
okay. Gotcha. All right, so we did not apply it to a backhoe or loader, huh?
We did not. But this, the plan when we put it away was it was half a truck.
Okay. And then they went and raised the cost of a truck.
And then they went with the cost of the truck.
What's the plan for the grader, that Volvo grader? Okay.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know, that's another, you know, each piece of equipment that we have down there, we try to go through it and,
Yeah.
you know, put our finger on it and say, all right, you know, where are we at with this? That one has just had some really bizarre, you know, unknown electrical issues, and then we find out that parts are no longer available for that machine.
Yeah, and you had to have someone like solder the circuit board.
Yeah, yeah, we were pretty fortunate that, I called the guy, he's like a wizard. I mean, he's really saved us on that. He has on a couple of items. He did on a sander control,
Mhm.
kind of the same thing. So, you know, it's not like even all the trucks and everything now, it's not like the old days where everything was mechanical.
Mhm.
Something wore out, it broke, you replaced it. Everything now is electronic. You're at the mercy of,
Yeah.
you know, a new vehicle probably has 20 to 30 different computers in it.
Yeah, I think with my Land Rover, I had one go out and I got a bunch of lights, and the mechanic said, when one computer throws a hissy fit, they all throw the hissy fit.
They all do, yeah.
You know, it was like a Christmas tree lighting up there. But let me ask you this about the truck. Can any of this be funded with any of this Volkswagen Dieselgate money? Wasn't that, some of that meant for replacing large trucks
Well, I think
in
that's if
municipal
you
fleets?
get rid of, some of it could be trucks if you had a really old truck that didn't meet the emissions.
A 2000 doesn't? Or does meet emissions, or?
I think they kind of prorate it, I believe. Do you know
Yeah,
the specifics
I've
on
never
that?
Yeah, no,
I mean, is that,
those funds are out there, but we haven't seen any offered to.
is that something that we should probably, because that comes through the state, and the state decides how they're
Yeah,
doing it.
but none of it's come out yet for us, for municipalities.
Okay, can we check on that, just see where the state is? Because
Sure.
it was like several $1 million, I think.
Yeah.
You know, for like old school buses and old, you know, municipal big dump trucks. or
Yep.
dump-
The article that you sent me
Yeah,
noted that none of that money had been used in the state.
yeah, but
I'm
the
not
thing
sure if
is,
it's being held up somewhere, or if
I don't know,
We'd be on that, you know, in a nanosecond.
yeah.
I haven't seen it advertised for, usually we'll get solicitations from DOT or safety or
Right.
whatever, when grant funds become available, because they want people to apply. I haven't seen any invitations on that,
But it would be,
Volkswagen money.
wouldn't hurt just to check and just see where the state is on that. 'cause-
Okay.
And the next page, 29,
Yep.
718 and 719.
Crack ceiling? That's pretty much ongoing, isn't it? Or is that, looks like it's a new line?
Yeah, so that's part of the RSMS that we had done on the roads.
Right.
And they gave us we generated a list of the roads and the conditions and some of the maintenance being that we would do crack sealing, sand sealing, that sort of thing.
Okay. So is this something we haven't been doing or haven't been?
No, since I've been here, it has been done in the past.
Okay.
Long time ago.
Long time,
Okay.
Now we have a plan of the roads that we want to do that should be done to stay on that 10-year plan.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the other one, Paul?
The next one down.
Sidewalk reconstruction?
Correct.
Yeah. 100,000. What didn't we have 100,000 this year and we spent $375?
No, we just paid the bill yesterday, I think.
Okay.
So, as of December, we did not do it.
Okay. So how much have we, so we basically paid for all the sidewalk work?
Yeah,
Okay.
we had all of that money.
Okay. And it came in right about 100,000?
No, it was higher. This year it was higher.
Okay.
We're seeing the cost of all that sort of stuff going up pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
But we keep plugging away at it because we don't want to lose our momentum.
Mm-hmm.
We still got 3 or 4 more years of steady work in that regard
Mm-hmm.
before we get caught up. And the TAP program will help us quite a bit for the replacement of the Centipede Street sidewalk. We have a
Yeah.
grant to go from Centipede, from Main Street up Centipede out to the Ruger, the mill building, almost to the mill building. But that's working its way through the bureaucracy. We got 740,000.
And if you think that the new sidewalks are not appreciated, ask the guy that piles them. I know he certainly appreciates the new stretches of sidewalks. Yeah.
I mean, they are nicer for walking.
Oh, they're safer.
Yeah.
Much safer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They look good, they're easier to maintain,
Mm-hmm.
directs water,
Yep.
safer for the pedestrians.
Now, Chandler's Mills Bridge,
Needs to be done,
okay,
ran out of money.
okay. What condition is that bridge in?
It's okay. It is in need of replacement.
Okay.
We looked at it, was it last fall? We had a couple of companies look at it. Yeah.
Is this the bridge that Burke's been
Yeah.
referencing?
We do have the east side of it kind of coned off to keep traffic away from the side on it. It was recommended that, we could keep traffic off on it.
How long is that bridge?
20.
I don't think it's 20 or...
Yeah.
It's pretty
So it's
short.
not long.
It's pretty short.
So it's sort of thing, if it gets worse, we could go down to a one-lane bridge, much like they did at, Centipede did in Bradford Road, before they did that bridge over?
You could. The line of sight,
Is not there?
it's not
Okay.
good.
But we're not there yet.
Right.
And right now, there's no bridge aid money, is that right?
That's correct. The Bridge Aid program has been closed to fund current projects, and they anticipate reopening in 2029, and that will be on a competitive basis as opposed to the current. Throw your name in the hat and you get put in line.
Is this anything with the infrastructure money coming from the feds?
That'll be my hope, but that hasn't started been advertised yet either.
Okay.
Water and sewer has been, but they haven't started talking about roads and bridges yet.
But the decision to close the Bridge Aid program was before COVID.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I mean, so, which is, in my view, maybe a financial necessity, but it was a huge mistake, because it'll put us 10 years further behind.
Yeah, bridges aren't gonna stop deteriorating.
Oh.
Now what about guardrails, Corbin Bridge? Like I said, it moved 16,000 or something?
Yeah, so we need to get a quote to replace the guardrails that are out there.
And those, what's out there now? Those wood
Just
ones, right?
some timber, like 6x8s they're just all rotted.
Okay.
I do have a quote with me for the
I think they
guardrail.
may have been, I think when the bridge was redone, I think the bridge contractor, maybe as a favor, kind of put them up there.
So it looks more authentic.
Yeah, I think maybe the intent was that they would be temporary, and they kind of became permanent, and now they're in need of, I don't think they're compliant with any sort of standards.
I have a quote from CWS Fence, grand total, just under 17 grand for.
Yeah, it's 16 something here.
16,850.
16,850.
And that's with them removing and disposing of existing.
Now, what they would put up would be what, steel or?
Yeah, so it was spec'd out to be like a core 10, so
Okay.
it's kind of not the bright shiny stuff, it's more the, almost
Right.
looks rusty.
Which would probably meet DOT spec, but it wouldn't be authentic looking with the, for the bridge.
Well, it would, I mean, it wouldn't be, I think it would blend in a little better than like a bright
Okay.
galvanized or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
All right, Paul, anything else here?
The only thing I'd like to show you is just a theory at work. If you go back to page 25, the bottom line on that page is our road bond.
Okay.
The principal at just under 230,000.
Yep.
If you come back another page, you see that one first.
Back to
Sorry, go ahead of page, I guess, page 27.
Okay.
You'll see the interest at just under 13,000. Bottom section of that top section, bottom line of that top section.
Yep.
So we're paying about $243,000 towards paving. Historically, it had used $250. Well, the $30,000 for crack sealing is on top of that. So we're really at $272 for road work.
Yep.
Compared to the $250 that we had historically been at. But that's us using the $250 that we promised to do last year,
Right.
coming through.
Now, when we got approval to do that, that was basically paying for that work over 4 years.
Great.
Well, the initial one and then 3 more, right?
Right, yes.
Okay.
The current budget and then three
Right.
forward budgets.
And that project, I mean, came in under budget, right?
It did,
So, are we gonna need 2 more payments after this?
yes, we still issued we had to issue the entire bond.
Okay.
But what happened was what we did was we did increments, we did the $250,000 regular payment,
Mhm.
and then we did the $700,000 bond. We spent the bond money,
Right.
so now we've got the $250 in the operating budget, and they spent, over half of that, certainly, on that project. And then I think you had some other little paving jobs
Okay.
as part of that.
So, one of the things we're intent on doing is you have the 250 that's been your traditional funding level.
Mm.
And this year, there's an additional 30 in there. And then next year, there'll probably be an additional 30 or 40 in there. And then the next year after that, we're
An
going to
additional
recommend.
30 or continuing the same 30 we're using for?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then in the last year, we'll probably be recommending somewhere around 50.
Mhm.
And then the following year, the 250 will join the 50 that we have, started to evolve in the budget.
Right.
Because our long-term maintenance plan suggests that we should be around, I think it was 3.25 or 330 or something like that, to be keeping up with our roads.
Yep.
So we're working our way back to
Okay.
that point. So they'll
Good.
marry
Right.
in 3 years, and we'll be in a pretty good funding spot going forward.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it for these guys.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Happy
All right.
meeting, huh? Now, that's not your book, oh, you need it next week.
For next week, yeah. Want it back until then?
Thank you, have a good evening.
All right. Good night, Albert.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Paul, you gonna move up to the front row?
See ya.
I'd rather sit right where I am, but I'll take the center stage if you want.
Which page?
We'll go right back to the start of the budget if you still want to do budget.
Yep. How, people good?
Gotta get through eventually.
Yeah.
Well, the nice thing is we can count out as little or as much as you'd like tonight.
Okay, back to page 1.
Back to page 1.
Okay. Not much change here in executive.
No, down a little bit. I think you're gonna find that's pretty much the common theme throughout the budget. Nothing of any great significance, no big changes, little shaving here and there.
The miscellaneous benefits under line 37 on page 1.
What's that? Okay, that's under election.
Oh, okay.
No, actually, that's, if you can interrupt, that's in every budget that has personnel has that section. You're gonna see all of those lines be down, but that down is offset generally in the actual salary line, because we're now paying longevity, education, and certification pay weekly. And just budgeting wise, I couldn't pull it out, so that's been added to the salaries. Then the miscellaneous benefits are the few that we pay out annually, and the gift certificates and some other small things. So throughout the budget, you should see a decrease to the miscellaneous benefits, and then the salary lines are up just a little bit.
So that's basically,
Yeah, just to explain the principle behind that is that, you know, the town has a number of benefits that it pays out for longevity and all these other things. And we were concerned that we had been paying out those benefits largely at one time a year. So in November, you get a check for whatever, $500. That was intended to reflect in the, let's use the example, longevity. And so, or disuse of not using your sick leave, or whatever the benefit happened to be. And so, from a policy point of view, we were a little concerned that it could be possible for somebody to get that benefit and then quit the next day. And it was a benefit that was intended to reward you for a year's worth of whatever. So we've taken as many of those as we can. There's probably 1 or 2 left, and we've built it into, so if you get a $500 benefit for something, we pay it out now over 26 pay periods. So if you leave halfway through the year, you get half your benefit. If you leave 3/4 of the way, you get 3/4 of your benefit.
so you get $18 a pay period.
Yeah, whatever. So we've tried to do that in as many cases as we can. And so as Paul has pointed out, we've moved some of that expense up to the pay line item instead of the miscellaneous line item. There's a few that don't work very well that we've left down on that miscellaneous line.
Okay. Anything else in executive? John, you're gonna speak up if you have any questions, right? Barry, you had a question?
I'm good.
Okay, elections?
Elections has seen a little bit of an uptick on salaries to reflect additional voting, balloting this year, but otherwise also pretty unremarkable.
Okay.
Well, that's under elections. The
Town clerk.
the staff training. Why, I mean, their request is quite high. Do they feel they need more training?
Well, I asked that question myself, and that would be the ideal, but given the circumstances, not a lot of excess staff around, and their historical use, I did reduce that to a more historical amount, more realistic amount. I mean, there's as much training, you go as much training as you can stand, but practically speaking, that wasn't going to be possible. We don't discourage training, we think training's great. But there's only so much you can do if you only got 2 people in the office.
Computer maintenance. This is pretty much their share of the computer maintenance contract for the town, or does this have to deal with their
That's all,
It's their stuff.
that's software licensing.
Okay,
They have software that's unique to their operations, and
Right.
that's where that comes from.
right, and they have their connection to the state, right?
Right.
Yeah, okay. How is that service or computer contract?
So far, good.
Okay.
It's a little early to tell yet, but no problems. They're still coming up to speed, figuring out, where this is and why is this over here and what's that doing over there. But I think based on the feedback from the department heads I've asked about it, that the response has been favorable.
Okay.
We got a lot of old equipment that needs to be replaced there. We've ordered 7 or 8 new workstations, and there'll be some more pieces coming that need to be replaced. A lot of our equipment is, what are we doing? Our software is 07 software. Some of our servers are 10 years old or older, and that's generally you're getting to that danger zone. So we'll try to be a little more proactive in that and start replacing some of that stuff.
Okay. Finance. Anything stick out in finance?
Not that we can see.
Okay. All right.
Is there a line somewhere that, just because of the discussion we've had lately, that shows how much we put into the budget for our assessor?
Coming up next.
Property reevaluation, line 78.
Yep.
77.
Okay.
All right, all done with finance, we'll move on to property reevaluation. And I think you're looking at line 89 there.
Hmm. Oh, there it is. So that's what we budget for the entire year for the assessor's salary?
Yes. Not salary, he's
Well,
a contractor.
He's a contractor. We
But
pay
that's
him.
what you're saying is that should be the end point of his contract.
Well, that's an estimate of his contract.
Yeah.
We pay him,
By the hour.
well, yeah, but we
Okay.
pay him for 2 days a month to be here and to schedule meetings with people and to just do general work. And then he reviews abatements.
Yep.
If we get 2 abatements in a year, he's so much money. If we get 10 abatements, he's 5 times more of that. If you got an abatement on the Shaw's Plaza versus my house, there's more time spent in the Shaw's Plaza than there is on my house. So it's an estimate of what that might be. And then we pay him a fixed fee for pickups in April and May. He goes out and looks at new construction or additions or new decks or whatever else. That's a per parcel thing. So that's one of the things when you'll...
So in effect, I mean, if I'm looking at this, the impression sometimes that's given is that we're giving him a lot of money.
Well, there are some months that are busier than others.
Well, I know, I mean, when
So-
you get a $22,000 thing,
Well,
but,
so just to change the context a little bit, so this is our normal, everyday, every year routine
Yeah.
with him. So, however, I think what you're referring to is that in years where there's a reval,
Like that coming up.
coming up now.
well, but this, not necessarily, because this is a statistical revaluation. And a full revaluation where you're going to every single house and measuring every single garage and every shed and every blah, 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 is very labor intensive. So the stories that you have heard, I believe, have their roots in full reval years,
Okay.
not in a routine year. And this is more of a routine year than a full reval year. So, it gets attention, but
Well, I still think it's a pretty reasonable amount of money.
well, I can assure you that you will
I'm
be
glad to
hard
see
pressed
that.
to find an appraiser, and B, that if you attempted to, for instance, in my former life, I had a full-time appraiser, and it was I can assure you it was markedly more money than this.
Okay.
And
Yeah. I mean,
so, yes, it's pricey, but it's, given the value of what we get, it's
reasonable.
it's what the market would require.
Good.
But that's my assessment. I mean, that's the story, I think the stories you're hearing are from reval years, where, you know, there's been just gobs and gobs of time that is required to go out and do a lot of these
Mhm.
things. So,
So if you know it's a reevaluate, you adjust that.
yeah. Now, I mean, we have
You have a record of what it is.
and when we contract out for these services, the reval company will do a lot of it, but there's a lot of then coordination in-house that needs to take place here between our appraiser and the reval guys.
Yeah.
He just doesn't take a powder and go off for a year and
Yep.
and not do
Okay,
anything.
good. Thank you.
Anything else under property reevaluation? Okay. This section's gone up a whopping 0.21%. All right. Where to, Paul?
Next line down, legal, we're just gonna keep going through.
Well, are we, how do we cover the fact that legal is always way out of whack?
You know, I'll tell you, there's a phrase that is not well liked in the accounting industry that I'm sure Paul will relate to, and that's called plug. This is a plug number. It's a number that's just a placeholder. I can't tell you what it's the only plug in this entire budget that I'm aware of. It's
So,
whatever number you want to put in there is whatever number you're going to put in there.
so the thing is, I mean, we've basically blown this year's budget on legal fees already.
absolutely.
And we're halfway through.
Right.
So, how do we cover the extra legal expenses?
We absorb it through the under expenditure of other line items.
So we buy a smaller truck for highway?
Not necessarily. There will be things that will just, you know, that we've done our best to estimate that will come in low. And will result in operating surpluses. And we just reallocate those monies to this line item.
So it's pretty much like saying, yes, some of our fund balance will be taken up by the extra legal
Right.
expense.
If need be. I mean, last year we got, look, I hate to say this, but COVID saved our bacon last year.
COVID saved everyone's bacon last year.
Yeah, we recouped $187,000 in overtime for police and fire.
That we otherwise would have had to absorb. So those things happen throughout the year. You know, I need to remind everybody that, maybe you fully appreciate it, but, you know, a budget is an estimate. It's an educated guess.
Right.
And I can assure you, we were talking about this earlier, I have counterparts in my business that when they put together the budget, it's put together in a beautifully bound and ornate book, and it's all, you know, perfect and everything. It's got pictures and all kinds of charts and
And
graphs
it's
and
a work of
scales.
fiction.
And, you know, I hand it to you at 7 o'clock, and by 7:05 it's worthless, because everything's changed. We're already partway into the operating year by the time it gets adopted, and all the rest of that stuff. It's a good faith, best guess guide,
Yeah.
and that's about as good as it gets.
So I guess it comes down
That's why I do
to,
this cheap, because it's
you
gonna be
know,
out of date by the time you're done with it.
But it is still, I'll just say, I've always viewed budgets as working documents.
That's correct, they're living
Okay.
documents, they change all the time. But that's what I'm saying, some people make a big deal about them, they memorialize it, they will bind it, literally bind it like you would bind a book. And, you know, from the minute it arrives, you're making changes to it. And so, it's you know, we try to keep this simple, so you can take a page out, throw it away,
Yeah.
put a new page in, and, you know, it changes all the time. It's not worth memorializing, because it's gonna change.
I mean, I'm just bringing it up because we know it's can't even say it's a wild ass guess, because looking at what we're involved in legal wise, you know, we're pretty much assured we're gonna blow past 70,000.
Yeah, but I think 70,000 is our best guess as to what it probably should be if it was normal, whatever normal routine year.
But unfortunately, the past couple of years have become the new normal for us.
About $30,000 out.
So, I mean, if everyone's fine with, with this, otherwise it would impact the, bottom line.
Right. That's just something that we've become accustomed to making up for.
Okay.
The other thing is hopefully your big lawsuit's gonna be gone next
One or another.
Which one?
Yeah, well, we got rid of one. We got one, I mean, that one was sucking up money like, crazy. Now,
Yeah.
now the one we have left is only sucking up money
vacation.
reasonably, a smaller amount, but the other one was like a black hole.
Yes. And look at what happened with our winnings from that.
That got sucked up too.
Yeah.
Somebody else came along and took those.
Okay. I don't hear any concerns about it. Next
Well,
up,
Are you concerned about it?
I'm just pointing it out. So we-
No, I'm talking.
Yeah, it's
I
something.
appreciate you bringing it up.
Yeah.
I think it's something that Paul and I are always aware of. It's the gorilla in the room. There's a couple of gorillas in the room that we always kind of, hold our breath
Yeah.
on, and that's one of them. But it's okay. But I don't know what other, I couldn't look you in the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't look you in the eye and tell you 100 is better, or 97 is better, or
Mhm.
127 is better. I just don't know.
And the other thing is that maybe in April, if we have a hard winter and legal fees keep going, it's a case of, all right, everybody, you're on a budget freeze, or
Right.
no out of the ordinary expenditures
Yeah.
without specific approval.
You haven't had freezes here in a long time.
We haven't had a freeze here. I think I've only done one in
Yeah, I
29
can remember
years.
school opened one year, we had a freeze the next day, so that was.
Yeah.
The next day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
School has had freezes starting in August.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh, the budget passed, let's freeze it.
Yeah, I think we've done one.
All right,
Disruptive
You know,
is
I-
usually not productive.
it's, like to be somewhat accurate, and 70,000 would be good to get back to.
That's our hope.
Well, how you will.
Tell people to stop suing us.
Hmm?
Tell people to stop suing us.
Or doing things that make us have to sue them. Okay. Everyone's happy with that. Where are we going next?
If you want to keep going, the next section, Topaz, page 5.
Okay. Topaz. No changes here?
Nope, pretty flat.
Okay. All right, we did district court and general government building. Cemetery we did, insurance deductible. You sure that $1 is gonna be enough?
I hope so.
Well, it's kind of
Well,
like on the
that's-
same,
Actually,
same with the
no.
law.
I can tell you it's not. If you guys get sued and it hit the public official's liability, it's $10,000 deductible.
So that's
All
on
of
the
it.
same, it's on the same
So-
vein as legal costs,
The dollars there to hold the line open.
Now, according to somebody,
We
we'd
used
have
to
to
carry
pick up
a-
our own expense, but I don't believe that's
We
true.
used
No,
to carry
that's-
1,000.
That, the law says that as long as
Indemnify.
you are working within the scope of your authority and in good faith, that you'll be covered.
I don't lose sleep over it.
I can tell you that in the 40 years that I've been doing this, I have not seen and not heard of a single incident anywhere where that has not been the case.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's nonsense.
Yes, Barry, once you meet your deductible, the town will cover it.
Good, good. I'll throw in a buck. Yeah.
No, the deductible, he mentioned it actually.
Yeah.
So within the scope and without malice, those are basically the threshold.
Okay.
Year and a half.
All right, advertising.
Those are the fees we pay to a variety of related agencies.
Municipal Association. Yep. Regional Planning Commission, New Hampshire Resource Recovery Association, the people that keep mailing me mail, which I give to Hunter.
Yep.
Econ. Looks like we haven't been paying econ dues for a while.
There's no dues. The 5,000 from 2021 was actually our last installment on the economic development coordinator position.
I thought we were 15 a year.
We were 15 a year, but we had set aside money
Okay.
In
in
advance.
previous budgets, so we carried it through, so we only needed 5 in that last year.
So that's all squared up now.
And going forward, this position is now showing up in its own section.
Yeah, you'll see it
Yeah,
coming up.
it's divided between the school district and the town, 50/50.
Yep.
Less complicated,
Yep.
or should,
All right.
those are the primary beneficiaries.
All right, other general government. Okay, we have the senior center. Contingency, we've addressed already. Safety committee. NCTV, which is a pass-through. And what's the fleet vehicle? Is that the BMW in the parking lot?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Which we got from,
Confiscated after
Confiscated.
drug
Yeah.
deal.
yeah,
At some point, we will be presenting to you, we'd like to replace that. It's expensive to fix when it breaks,
sure.
and it's just an expensive car, and probably more than we need. So at some point, maybe not this year, but we were thinking a little SUV would be like a little Ford Escape.
Well,
That's worked out well.
even say when Brent takes a cruiser offline finally,
Yeah.
using one of those since it's only used to run to Concord or something.
Most of those service vehicles are pretty
Pretty well worn.
Yeah. They're well north of 6 figures by the time they come up with. And they're gas hogs. But, not to change the subject, but before we leave this area, we will want some feedback from the select board about how you want us to instruct petitioners, human service agencies, so to speak, this year about petition warrant articles. But what you're going to require them to get signatures or not get signatures, or who you're going to require to have signatures, and so on and so forth.
Well, if
So-
it's a petition warrant article, they gotta get signatures.
Right?
Well, you have the ability to adopt those warrant articles as your own and not require them to get signatures, but,
The only one we've had come forward has been what, Southwest with the bus? Is that Southwest?
We have one for VNA also.
The New Hampshire and Vermont?
Yeah.
Have we gotten that request?
Oh, yeah.
no, it's coming. I mean, we're getting into that frame of time frame where people
Yeah.
are going to want to know. So we want to be able to give them advance notice saying, yeah, you're going to have to get 25 signatures this year or not, or whatever.
Okay.
But, I mean, you can take that up at your next meeting or something, but just jump
Well, I
on my
mean,
mind.
the deadline for petition articles is the 8th of March, correct?
That's correct.
So we basically down
Get a
to
month.
3 weeks.
I think they've all been told.
Have they?
So.
Yeah, well, I had a couple ask me about it, so. Right, anyway, well, if that's your position, we won't bother you with it, but.
Yeah, John, for some of these service agencies, like who is it, Southwest that does transportation, the B&A of New Hampshire and Vermont, and others like that, is your preference that they submit petition articles, or are there any that you would want to bring inside our budget? Right now, we have the senior center and Sullivan Nutrition are the only ones, right?
Yes.
I kind of like where we're at right now. Any others by petition sounds fine.
All right,
Didn't a guy, who's the guy came in?
T-Bolt.
Southwest, yeah.
Yeah. Did that get put in the budget?
No.
What he asked? No?
He would like it in the budget, but it was not last year, was it?
No. it wasn't.
He's looking for a kind of a special appropriation to help out with the bus situation.
What's your feeling?
Well, I thought we were telling him that we would consider it.
We're considering it now. What's your position? What's your consideration?
This is, I'm trying to think back. This is the one with the bus that,
They took over the bus service a couple of years ago. They run between
Yeah, I know.
here and Charlestown.
And they've passed on petition article for the last 2 years.
They've what, passed on a petition
On a
article,
petition.
and he's just saying he wants it permanently in the,
But he doesn't have to worry about getting the petition.
well, he doesn't, he knows in general about funding, at least what we're supplying for funding. I mean, it passes every year anyway, doesn't it?
It has historically.
What's your preference?
Leave it the way it is, I guess.
And Herb?
I feel if we include it, we're taking the voice away from the people, because they have to vote the budget, they can't vote out certain line items, they have to vote the budget. If we leave it out, we give them the choice, they can have it or not. So I would say we leave it the way it is. We decided this last year that this is the way we felt it was the best way to do it.
Yeah, plus you had more requests,
Senior-
probably the same nature.
Senior center and visiting nurse were left in, well, not visiting nurse,
Sullivan Nutrition.
Southwest Nutrition, yes.
Yeah.
Because those were local
Yeah.
entities that we felt benefited the people.
Well, you directly benefit our,
These others are satellite companies that come in from outside. They benefit Newport people, but they're not within the bounds of Newport, so. I
okay.
just feel like we should have
So-
a voice.
Let them all know petition articles.
With the exception of those two.
Right, which are already in the budget.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it doesn't make any difference to us. I mean, there's about as many different ways of doing this as there are towns.
Right,
If
but,
everybody wants to do
Well, I
it.
like what Herb said.
Yeah, that works.
right, but I mean, if they gotta be done by the 8th, that gives them only like 3 weeks, so I don't want anyone saying it was last minute,
No.
so.
We're gonna do that anyway.
If they can't get 25 signatures in 3 weeks, they're not trying. All right. How do we get on that subject? Oh, yeah.
My fault.
Yep, other government, other general government. All right? Where to now, Paul?
If you want to keep going, we will actually, page 21, bottom section you just talked about, but that's Sullivan Nutrition in the budget, and visiting nurse, Vermont, New Hampshire, community transportation, and Southwest Community Services for their services side, not their bus side, were ones that had made requests.
Do you see they're all pretty flat?
Yep.
So who's coming in next?
I mean, coming in.
Police?
Public safety night on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, so it'll be the chiefs.
Does that mean you're done for tonight?
I'm done.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Okay.
Are we, good place to stop?
Yeah, we have 3 sections left. You'd be front for the general fund, but I can close my book just as easy as you can.
3 sections, or are they big sections?
No, welfare, economic development, and debt service.
Let's keep going.
Sorry, Barry.
If I say, well, I know he's gonna go the opposite way,
Okay.
so that's.
Welfare administration, page 23.
Yep, that's another bit of a crapshoot. We've seen some actually reduction in activity there. We're not 100% certain of that, but we're thinking it's having to do with some of the COVID relief programs, but not 100% on that, but.
So you were just taking a chance of reducing it by
Yep,
20,000?
we're gonna, it's one of those things where we're gonna have to expend whatever we have to expend. There's no discretion there, really.
Okay. And we often try to direct people to other agencies too, correct?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
All right. Okay, that was that one. Economic development, on the same page.
So this is 100% of the economic development coordinator's office, position and office.
Okay.
And then there's a formula on the back, in the revenue side that takes 1/2 of that,
Takes 1/2 of the whole position or just the salary?
the whole budget.
Okay. And that's because this position also does school to work, right, at the high school?
Yep.
Which is, you put out an advertisement for the position now?
Yes, it went out, started going out yesterday, and a bunch went out today.
Okay.
So I'm optimistic, and if we don't find anybody that we're looking for, that, immediately immediately to fill the full-time position. We're exploring the idea of, maybe a summer intern. We'll use the same money, but use it for an intern that we can give some experience to.
Good.
Also in conjunction with the school, so same benefit. Could be a high school student, a graduating, high school student.
Did you talk to Jay Flanders, see if he knows of anyone?
Not yet, he's on my list.
Okay. All right. All right, what else you got?
Next page, 25, back to debt service, where we talk about the road bonds. We have the first, second, third, fourth Knoll Street and the bridge bonds still active.
Not much to be talked about there. You've got very little discretion. We're obligated.
Right.
Yeah.
And the increases there, if you turn over to the next page, is interest
Yeah.
on those same
Yeah.
bonds, and you'll see those decreases because it's flat payment annual.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then section below that is, well, $1 for tan notes, which we haven't done in years, but we need to keep the line open.
Dollar where? Oh, okay.
$1.
Tax anticipation.
If you find yourself having to taking out a 10, then there's trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And then lease payments, you'll see we're still paying on the air packs, and we are adding the communications equipment leases.
All right, okay.
Came in right on schedule, right on budget. Good. Actually a little short.
Okay.
And then is your tour of the general fund.
Okay.
What's that?
Wasn't that bad?
Yeah, it was only an extra.
No,
only an
I
extra 3
really
or 4
appreciate
minutes.
that, Jeff. That was good.
What? That I made you stay to
Maybe
finish?
stay, yeah, that's okay.
So the only other piece of business is I'd like you all, if you will, if you're kind enough to authorize a new lease for the state, with the state of New Hampshire, the district court.
You want to go over the high points of it? You raised, they're paying more?
Yep, they pay 2% more every year. There was, a couple years ago was the big jump. We were at 50 or 60, we went up to like 100. 3-year, so the dates that we've been looking for are listed on the bottom of page 5. This is through January 2025.
And the rental schedule's on page 19.
Right. Nothing out of the ordinary, nothing new. Good. 2% every year. That's it. So if you could authorize that new lease and authorize me to sign on your behalf, that'd be great.
What was holding this up was, I guess, a survey of the air quality, right?
There's a provision in there that requires the landlord, meaning us, to do an evaluation of the air quality in the building, and I didn't want. So if you sign the contract, you're required to do that. And in that scenario, it said, and the landlord will pay for any remediation. Given COVID and the whole 9 yards, I got a little nervous about doing that after the fact. So I said to the state, we're going to do the test first, and then we'll sign the lease. Because I didn't want to sign the lease and then somebody say, well, it's going to cost you $100,000 to fix that problem. I wanted to preserve our ability to get out. Not that we would necessarily do that, but I didn't want to be in the box without knowing. That was the one wild card. So we spent a couple of grand to go and have a environmental company come in and do an assessment. They tested for CO2, for asbestos, for radon, for whatever. Came back, everything's fine. So now the contract has been amended to indicate that those tests have been done and that is not a liability.
Smart move.
So we're back to our regular thing. So if you authorize me to sign this on your behalf, then we will send this tomorrow to the administrative office of the courts, and it will get on the governor and council's agenda and be approved, and life will go on.
So I would move that we approve the district court lease with the state of New Hampshire and authorize the town manager to sign any applicable contract.
Documents.
You want to add the dates?
One quick question, Barry.
Yep.
Before you finish. We've had a couple of substantial expenses with the roof a
Yes,
couple years ago, and now with the furnace.
right.
The rent portion is gonna be enough to keep us solvent, black, whatever you wanna,
Look at
what you
page-
wanna put it.
See
Yes.
page 19 there?
Yeah.
$333,000 over the next 3 years.
Mhm. But you never know
Yeah,
what part of the building's gonna fall in.
Short of a catastrophic.
That's a good
collapse,
question, but I
yeah.
think we got it covered.
But if that were the case, I would like to think that our insurance would kick in for something. But,
and what did we
Yes.
say the expenses were, like 30,000?
Yeah, well, the operating expenses were, I think, were 34,000, and
Yeah.
then there's a, we'll be talking about a $10,000 capital reserve transfer, which is at least saving a little bit of the money that we make in rent for
Good.
capital issues with the building. We have 10 going in there this year. This will make it 20. We had 22. We used that for half of the roof that we had saved previously.
yeah,
As
so
I said earlier, it's a profit center for the town.
Yeah, so we're looking for a second. Oh, do we need to put in dates?
I would recommend you include the dates of the lease.
The lease is a 3-year lease, and what was that, on 19?
February 2022 to January 2025,
right.
page 19.
Yep, I'm getting to it. Yeah, February 22 to, you want me to do the whole 3 years?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a 3-year
to
term.
1/31/25.
There a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, since John's here, we'll do a roll call vote. John?
Aye.
Bert?
Aye.
Barry?
Aye.
And I'll vote aye. Okay,
Move to adjourn?
there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Now, do we need a short non-meeting so you